How many of you don't suffer? Please put up your hands. How many of you don't suffer? Please put up your hands. Jerry Morris has no suffering. You also don't have suffering. God bless you. Wonderful. God bless you. That is great. I am going to ask you another favor. That is, you put up your hand. That is a favor. And second term, how many of you have Netflix connection? Netflix, Netflix? Netflix? Yeah, good. Your homework is, I don't recommend this program for the little children, okay? You, those who are 18 and above, watch the Passion of the Christ during this season, okay? The Passion of the Christ. You will understand exactly, because it is an old movie. We might have seen it long back, but to revive again, Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson. That's a very beautiful movie, nicely filmed, and it has received Oscars too. And therefore, please watch that as a homework on my part, as a part of the retreat, okay? That is the second thing. Now, how many of you have heard about Auschwitz, where 6 million Jews were exterminated in Poland at the border of Germany? You have heard about it. How many of you have visited that place? Nobody. If you think of visiting, you will just forget everything in your life. If you visit that place, if you think that you have been suffering intensely in your life without any kind of relief, and you have been crying to the Lord, Lord, why have you given this cross to me? I would recommend at least know something about Auschwitz. You don't need to visit. 6 million Jews were exterminated with terrible, torturous sufferings. And in those sufferings, people were committing suicide. You know how they were committing suicide? Because Auschwitz was surrounded by a well-built fence which was fully electrified with high electrical voltage. And people who were not able to bear those sufferings in the concentration camp for days and months together without any kind of hygiene, semi and totally naked, imprisoned in small caskets of wood, without food and without any comfort. They were made to walk on bare snow and people would die. I don't want to enumerate because this is very graphic. I just want to tell you that suffering must be in some way accepted with meaning. And there was a guy in that concentration camp by name Viktor Frankl. Have you heard about him? Viktor Frankl. And if you happen to get a book that is titled Search for Meaning, you do read it. You will really get a clear idea how humanity, suffered. And Viktor Frankl was surprised to see that there were people in the concentration camp who were able to suffer and who wanted to live suffering. Who wanted to suffer and wanted to live for suffering. And he interviewed them secretly, clandestinely, and he found tremendous strength in learning how they were suffering. Some of the interviews were very interesting. One guy said that when this thing is over, the torture in the concentration camp is over, I am going to go with my grandchildren wherever they are for a nice long picnic. That is my goal. Another said, I am going to have a wonderful time looking for my wife, and when I get her, we will have an enjoyable time. Another said, I will gather some of my neighbors and friends together and have a grand luncheon together. These are little pleasures they were thinking that they would get after this torturous journey is over. What is the meaning? Putting meaning in your sufferings. Now, little children always have problem with their learning and studies and going to the school and so on. When Christmas holidays come, they are the happiest, right? And summer holidays come, they are the happiest. Am I right? Yeah. But school, I don't want. But there are some very intelligent children, they say schooling is good because after schooling, I grow up, I get a job, I marry a young, handsome boy and a girl, whatever it is, and I am going to have a wonderful, successful life. They learn their lesson in spite of all the pain that is involved. Putting meaning in your life. Dear friends, when we put meaning in our life, life becomes quite different altogether. So therefore, today, as we are going to meditate on the sufferings of Christ, Jesus did not simply suffer for the sake of suffering. If you think that you are suffering in life for the sake of suffering, then you are not putting meaning in those sufferings. When you put meaning in that suffering, then your life becomes meaningful, resourceful, powerful, even sometimes in the sufferings enjoyable. I met a woman who was lying on her deathbed in a hospital long back, maybe 15 years ago. She had become skeleton because she was having bone cancer. And she would suffer practically 24 hours a day. Not 8 hours a day, 24 hours a day. Because when the bones create pain, you understand what it is, right? When the real bones really having that pain, intense pain throughout your body, you know what it is. And I went to meet her. And she was looking sad. And she looked at me and said, Father, you have come, thank you. It is unbearable, Father. But only one person, I would have at night swallowed all my tablets together and committed suicide. But I don't want to commit suicide. And I said, who is that person? I asked. She put her hand under the pillow and drew out the crucifix and showed me. Only for this guy, I'm suffering. Otherwise, I would have taken the entire lot of the tablets that are there right on the table, swallowed and committed suicide. Putting meaning in suffering is that. Suffering is meaningful because it gives us strength from within. It builds our strength from within because we have to go a long way. You may be in business. You may be suffering at home. You may be suffering because of your husband or wife or children or neighbors or your workmates in the office or in the society. But if you put meaning, you become victorious in one way or the other. The stone that was rejected by the builders became the cornerstone. That is today's gospel passage. Now you see, dear friends, we might think that Jesus suffered only at the last for a few hours. But that is it. Because the man who does not deserve even a pinch, because he was innocent, a man who was so good, man who did good, man who reached out to the poor, the miserable, the blind and the lame and the lepers and even the dead people, feeding the people in the wilderness. He did not do anything bad. He did not even deserve a pinch from people. But he was given the most torturous death. And within few hours, with all kinds of bad words that were fired at him, a glutton, a friend of prostitutes, a man possessed with Beelzebul, a man who boasted so many things about himself that he will rise again. And in those few hours, he took upon himself the sufferings of the entire humanity on his shoulders. From scourging, from reviling, from nailing, from crown of thorns, losing all his blood, carrying the cross, falling several times on the way. The man who was supposed to deserve a throne, he was given a cross. And he died the most torturous death, 3 hours on the cross, suffocating, because cross was the worst and worst type of punishment given by the Romans to the Jewish people and non-Romans to suffer, suffocate and die bit by bit. That's the meaning that Jesus put in the suffering. Why? He died for me and for you. Dear friends, we all deserve, in one way or the other, kind of sufferings. Because even in me, cheating, fraud, lust, any kind of sin for that matter, gossiping, spoiling the name of others, at one time or the other in our life, we have done. We deserve. But before God, we don't deserve anything. Why? Jesus suffered for us. And if we have some kind of suffering in our life, even a toothache for that matter, try to put meaning into that. You don't suffer simply. Dear friends, when we look at the world today, sometimes we forget. We become forgetful because we are too much into my wounds, my suffering, my betrayal, that neighbor, this brother, that brother, my wife, my children, my husband, my uncle, my aunt. He abused me. They abused me. We are into that vicious circle all the time. Me, mine, I suffer. Am I right? We always think about it. You know, my that person has betrayed me. And I am going to teach him a lesson. I will take revenge on him one day or the other. That guy must be in the beaches of Australia having a nice sunbath. And you are here struggling in your own house, turning around. I am going to teach him a lesson. He betrayed me. He dished me. He spoiled my name. What are you going to do? You are hurting yourself. Your blood pressure will rise up. Your cholesterol will rise up. That guy is comfortably enjoying sunshine on the beaches of Australia. You are here with all kind of pumping. That blood goes to your blood and brain. And you go 10 times a year to the doctor for medical checkup. But that guy on whom you want to take revenge is comfortable. Nothing is going to change. You know, dear friends, whenever we suffer, if we don't put meaning in our suffering, we go downwards. We go downwards in our health, in our relationship. We have tension. We have thoughts after thoughts after thoughts. When we sit for prayer, that particular person comes to my mind. When I take my food, that person comes to my mind. And my enemy becomes the most dear person in my life because I remember him 24 hours a day. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Useless suffering. Useless suffering because you do not put meaning into the suffering. The moment you put meaning into the suffering, this person has done something wrong, And therefore I accept it for my own sinfulness, for all the betrayal, for all the sins, for all the miseries that I have committed. In some way, God is using that person to punish me. You know, there is a beautiful incident in the life of King David. King David was running away from King Saul, because King Saul wanted to kill King David. He was not yet king, but he was designed to be king. And now because David achieved such a lot in his life, he killed Goliath and brought victory to the Israelites. And therefore, Saul was jealous. And Saul was looking for him. And one day, Saul committed suicide. You know, you have to read it in the book of Kings. Beautiful story. And one day, as David was returning to his land, there was a guy who was giving him all kinds of bad words. You dog, you useless guy, because he was the friend of Saul. And David was a powerful man. He was a warrior. And he had his soldiers too. And one of the soldiers said, shall I go him and finish him off within one blow with the sword? What do you say? And King David said, if the Lord wants him to give me bad words, let the will of God be done. That is scripture. Dear friends, in our life there are enemies, lot of enemies. We have to fight for our justice. That is good. But brooding over all the time, that person has done this thing and done, if I do not put meaning in my sufferings, I go downwards. I don't achieve anything. I don't have any merit before God. So that is one aspect of a suffering. The second is we must be aware of the things that happen right now in the world. As you are listening to me, a talk on sufferings, as you are listening to me, there are millions of people in the world, they don't have a square meal per day. They don't have a washroom. They don't have a bed. They don't have a blanket. They don't have clean water. They don't have any medical attention. They don't have anything. Millions of people suffering in Palestine, millions of people suffering in Ukraine, and millions more suffering in African continent and Latin American continent, including my country too. You know, recently, one of our deanery priests from my deanery from Ontario, the Haldimand deanery, we call it. He is a 75 years old priest. He has gone to Bombay. He wants to spend 15 days. And I gave him the address of our parish in a prominent place in Bombay, because I was their parish priest. So I said, you go and visit our parish and they will treat you well. Actually, the fathers took care of him. And he wrote me, Father, in Canada, we are in paradise. In Canada, we are in paradise. Because I went to the streets of Mumbai, I found the little children half naked suffering. I'm not belittling my country. This is happening also in New York. This is happening in New Delhi and any big city. There are people who suffer, who have a shelter under a bridge, railway bridge or an ordinary bridge. They do not have a house to live. What are our sufferings, dear friends? Today everything has become automatic, right? You enter your house, you don't even need to put the switch on. Light comes because there are automatic bulbs today. Water comes simply in your faucet. Electricity. When it is cold, you warm up. When it is too hot, you cool down. You have enough and more food in your fridge that is enough for a month. Or if there is no food, you have in the neighborhood a departmental store that can provide you everything permanently. You have a little bank balance. You can sustain. But there are millions of people suffering. If we sit and sometimes meditate and understand where I am, how I am, then if you ask a question, why am I here in this world? Then you will find meaning. And that meaning should not be just material. Dear friends, I tell you, all the suffering, hard work is good. Get up early in the morning when you are healthy. Get up at 5 o'clock or 5:30. Do some physical exercise. Drink water. Do some movement. Pray. Life is beautiful, provided we put meaning into our life. Sometimes what we do, because God has provided me so many good things, I take life easy. But I become so upset when I have heard a word from someone, or someone told me that I am stupid. I will teach him a lesson. That person must be 3 times more stupid than me. Immediately a revolting answer comes from within. I never take suffering as something coming from God. Every suffering comes from God and returns to God with a good intention that is lived and experienced deep within me. That's what Jesus' suffering was. Jesus simply says, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains single. Our whole life is a march of suffering, dear brothers and sisters, in one way or the other, all of us. Whether you like it or not. Today you have a toothache and headache and stomach ache, but tomorrow when you get old, you will have more sufferings, more pains, more sorrow. But they are meaningful because we are marching towards something nobler and greater. We are not here permanent. The Bible says 70 years, 80 for those who are strong. I am 65 already. I am 65. And every day morning when I get up, the thought comes, Rudolf, you are going to die. I do not know when, but I am going to die. I don't have a permanent place here. No matter how fat bank balance I have in the bank, that does not help me. When I am old, I am not able to walk. I am not able to eat. Very often our misery is that we earn so much, we do not know how to spend it. And some other people who have never worked for it will eat and enjoy it. Put meaning in your life. Hard work is good. If God has given you 5 talents, make them 10. Good. If God has given you the talent of 10, multiply and make them 20. Hard work. Get up in the morning. Discipline yourself. Even if you don't suffer, through your discipline, bring out the gold in your life. And then, that is not for yourself. That's not for yourself. If I am just embellishing myself, then the goal of your life is defeated. Because God has given you intelligence, strength, and body, and beauty, and stamina, and talents. Not for yourself. Jesus did not live for himself. Apostles did not live for themselves. Saints did not live for themselves. If I am living for myself, I do not have any meaning for that. Even creatures live for themselves. We are human beings. We, through our sufferings, must give a good message to others that with my hard work, I am also going to do a little bit of charity. If I have $1,000 in the bank, can I not give $10? Can I not give $10? Can you or not? Yes. If I have 50,000 in my bank, can I not give $100 to the poor? That is your mission. That is what hard work, hard life, disciplined life, inviting sometimes crosses on myself when I do not have crosses, but through those crosses, I am helping others to get paradise. That is what Jesus promised when he was hanging on the cross. Lord, remember me when you are in paradise. You will be with me in paradise. I do not go alone to heaven. I do not go alone to heaven. If I think that, I have to go for confession. Yes, good. Go for confession. I have to do fast. I have to do stations of the cross. I have to do all kinds of devotions during Lenten season. Good. But if you think that I must be saved, what about others? Let them go to hell. That is not the spirit. If I do anything for that matter, dear friends, I know all of us, that's why I asked you a question at the beginning. How many of you do not have suffering? Every one of us has suffering. But when we compare our suffering with those people who are suffering and who have suffered in the past, our suffering, perhaps they are comparatively less. I don't say not much, less. This year we are celebrating the canonization centenary of Little Therese, the Carmelite saint. Little Flower. I'm pretty sure many of you are devotee of Little Flower, right? Little Therese, Therese of Lisieux. How many of you are devotees? I am a very great devotee of Little Therese. Many of you are there. We are celebrating this year the centenary of her canonization. You know what she was saying? I am not able to suffer like those giants who have suffered. I am not able to suffer because I am a little flower of Jesus. But I try to search for crosses in my life. When someone does not talk to me, I give a smile. When someone is angry with me, I try to help that person. When someone is angry with me, I try to in some way reach out to that person, finding meaning in our sufferings. Dear friends, today, as a part of this talk, I would like to highlight when Jesus was on the cross. When we consider the experience of the cross, when we detailed manner know how Jesus suffered, it is really powerful. The 3 nails, the crown of thorns, the scourging, the hanging on the cross for 3 hours, carrying the cross, bleeding profusely, and all the bad words that were fired at Jesus, even when he was hanging on the cross. There were many people who did not even have compassion towards Jesus. But those words that came down from the cross are marvelous. There are 7 words. I just want to go through them for our more understanding. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, he found all those people were giving bad words to him. And what did he say? Father, forgive them, they do not know what they do. I am going to speak on forgiveness tomorrow. That's a very interesting topic. Okay? Father, forgive them, they do not know what they do. Many people who torture you daily in one way or the other, they do not know what they do. They do not know what they do. But on your part, you forgive. That is putting meaning in your sufferings. Second, as Jesus was hanging, people said, hey, he saved others. He can't save himself. Mocking, right? He saved others. He saved others. He healed them. He raised them from the dead. He gave them eyes to see. He provided bread in the wilderness. He saved others. But this guy who boasted about himself so many things, he can't even come down from the cross. If you come down from the cross, we will believe. Bad words. And there was a thief on the left side. who gave all kinds of bad words. You are hanging, save yourself and save us. But the thief on the right side was understanding. What he said, we must be like the thief on the right side. Little Teresa says, I am like the thief stealing heaven. You know how to steal heaven? I'll give you a very nice way. Go for confession. Easy. I have told this here when I was, I was not feeling well when I was here for 2 years. Anyway, now I am full of health. God has saved me. God has given me back my health. I used to say that it is easier to go to heaven than enter Canada. Do you understand why I say this? Look at all the procedure we have to undergo. You have to do IELTS exam. You have to produce police clearance. You have to give the history of your family. You have to give your qualification. You have to, nowadays they have introduced another thing that your certificates must be certified by some kind of agency in Canada. Then you have to pay money to the one who is filling the application. Then we have to wait for 6 months. And sometimes, like me, 3 times your application will be rejected. You just imagine the torture of entering into Canada just to get a PR card. That is not even $25 worth. Going to heaven? Go to a priest who is old, he cannot hear properly, and confess all your sins, and he will give you a big absolution. Done! Easy to go to heaven, right? I told Father Venil, call some very old priest who cannot properly hear so that St. Mark's Church people can do a good confession before Easter time, right? Easy to go to heaven, right? Correct. So he is inviting 3 priests who cannot hear properly. I'm jokingly saying why, dear friends. God has given us, through the sufferings of Christ, the easiest way to enter into heaven. And still, our Catholic folks find it so difficult to make a good confession. They find, I have to tell to the priest, and what the priest will say. Priest has nothing to say. Priest has, even Pope Francis says, priest should not even ask any questions. Simply forgive. That is the task of the priest, because you are not going to confess to a priest. You are going to confess to Jesus, who suffered on the cross to relieve you from those terrible sufferings. Jesus suffering on the cross, he gives a gift to humanity. The greatest gift to humanity. What is that? Tell me. Are you feeling sleepy? No. What is that gift Jesus gave from the cross as he was suffering on the cross, hanging on those 3 nails? Come on. That's also good. The Blessed Mother. Son, this is your mother. Mother. Woman. This is your son. Humanity. Just imagine how Jesus put meaning in suffering. When he was excruciating, undergoing that pain of the cross, he was ready to be generous, even at that moment. Son, this is your mother. Woman. Why he called woman? He was not ashamed to call her mother. The woman, the meaning is madam, respected madam. With that respect, Jesus addressed Mary, mother, madam. When we go to a place, when you see a lady who is sitting in the office, madam, you see, right? With respect. So Jesus says, madam, not mother. You are much more than that. Madam, this is your son. That is called putting meaning in our sufferings. And then Dear friends, when we are suffering, really suffering, did you utter these words, why God has sent me this? You know, when especially people suffer because of incurable diseases, whatever it may be, you know what you say? Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why? Why me? Why me? Others are enjoying life, but why me? These were the words Jesus uttered. My God, my God. He did not say, my Father, my Father. No, my God, my God. Why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me? These are the real sufferings that we undergo in our daily life. When we feel totally helpless, dear friends, when we totally helpless, we must utter these words, my God, why have you forsaken me? That becomes a tremendous prayer of lamentation. Very true. When you really suffer. You know, this morning I was speaking to a lady and she was complaining, saying that, you know, she has such a lot of work to do. She has to wash the clothes of the children. Children are sometimes, you know, they are like that, you know. They simply throw their clothes and they don't work. Father, tired of life, tired of working. It's true. Sometimes men don't understand women at all. I also sometimes I did not understand my mother, you know. The mothers suffer the most. The mothers suffer the most. Men don't suffer so much. You know, what is their suffering? You know, some backache, some headache and this thing and that. And they know how to get rid of their suffering. They go out and have a beer in the bar. They know how to shed the load. They go with their friends and have a nice time, barbecue and this thing and that thing. But women normally they don't. They suffer. You know, God has given that power for women. I do not know. By nature, they are capable of suffering so much. Sometimes they simply close their eyes towards the unfaithfulness of men too. You know, sometimes men do a lot of monkey business outside and inside, you know. But still they close their eyes and really understand. That is the real understanding of women. But I tell you, women, you will be more meritorious than men. That is for sure. Because I had wonderful women in my life who saved me from many, many tragedies. Long ago, when I wanted to leave my seminary, there was a woman, sister, who just point blank told me, she is now no more. If you leave the seminary, that will be the most miserable thing that you have done in your life, and you will suffer throughout your life, she said. That brought me shock waves. And I completely deleted that thought in my mind, leaving the seminary. Today I am the happiest person being a priest. Women have that intuition. Women have that power. Don't feel bad, okay? I am keeping the women up because when they go home, they will treat you well. They prepare you good food. They clean the places and they keep your clothes well. You know, just women, how much they work. Apart from bearing children, 9 months, having that baby in their womb, God should have given this alternatively. 1 year, man becomes pregnant. After 3 years, woman becomes pregnant. Then it would have been nice, right? God gave only for women to become pregnant and suffer all that tragedies. Anyway, that is apart. You know, women, when you suffer, raise your heart and mind to God and cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why my children are treating me like that? And that powerful prayer reaches to God. That is putting meaning in your sufferings and pains. And then finally Jesus uttering, I thirst, it is finished. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit, because it is almost time. I want to wind up. Dear friends, try to put meaning in your suffering. Every suffering, toothache, headache, stomachache, everything. Forget, don't tell to the bishop, okay? What I'm telling. Don't worry about Lenten season. I have to fast. I should not eat meat. These are all ordinary things. They are only a help to prepare your heart. They are not the ultimate. Even if you eat meat, do you think that God is going to get angry with you? Absolutely not. God is only happy. Oh, my son and daughter ate meat in Lenten season. Congratulations. But she and he have done something good today. Good work. Now, for example, one Friday you ate meat and you run to the priest and say, Father, I want to make my confession. Why? Lenten season I ate meat. You think that is the biggest sin? Absolutely not. Instead of, go out, take out from your pocket $10 and give to the one who is suffering without making it known to others. That is more meritorious than fasting the whole day without even drinking water or milk. Because that is hurting you, right? Getting out $10 from your pocket is more painful than fasting. If you have $50 also, more painful. Putting meaning is that. Sometimes we Catholics have become so fanatic. Oh, Lenten season, I have to do all these things. Stations of the cross. Do it. Fast, do it. Penance, do it. But that is not the ultimate. That's only a preparation. What is important? What is in your heart? Sometimes, during Lenten season, there are people who never drink. I had the experience when I was in the bigger parish in Mumbai. There was a guy who said, Father, I never drank. This is a successful Lenten season. Easter came. Within 3 days, he died over drinking. I did his funeral. Because he pressed so much. Lenten season, 40 days he did not drink. So soon after Easter, he started drinking every day. And that hurt his liver and he died. Of course, resurrection of the blessed Lord. Participation in his glory. That does not help us. We have to really go deep into our heart and change. That's why Prophet Isaiah says, don't rend your clothes, rend your hearts. Put meaning in your suffering. Dear friends, we will do a short adoration. And during adoration, I am going to bring the Blessed Sacrament around so that the Lord, as He walked along with His people and blessed the people, is going to be very short. Don't worry. Okay? Now it is 8:10. By 8:20, you will be out of the church. Okay? We will get the blessing of the Lord and let us put meaning in our suffering. That is my message. Try to do the homework. If you can watch the Passion of the Christ, unite your sufferings with those people who are suffering in the world. Those who do not have a house or a bed and blanket and square meal per day. Those who do not have the possibility of having little clean water in their life. You connect your sufferings to those people so that we have some merit during this Lenten season as we march towards the resurrection of the blessed Lord. God bless you.